Never fear, Cindersh is here. And you'll have to forgive me for being a little bit behind schedule with this video. I've had a few complications between hardware problems, and I'm not feeling all that great right now either. I've got a runny nose and such. So I know later today we get the new episode, and it's taking me longer than usual to get this done. But hopefully we'll be back on track, and I'll get the next one out still on Thursday or early Friday. But today I have for you my Doctor Who discussion video for episode 8 of Series 9, the Zygon Inversion. Now, we've had other episodes in Doctor Who where there is a heavy comparison between the Doctor and God, or the Doctor and some supernatural being of some sort, because he has that wider, bigger perspective of the world and of the universe than everyone else. And we've also had episodes dealing with moral, ethical issues on very high scales, such as even earlier in this series, first episode where he's dealing with the Daleks and Davros, and he's having to deal with the consequences of, if he lets Davros die as a kid, does he stop, and he stops Davros from creating the Daleks? Is that worth doing, or should he save the young, still innocent Davros? Or going back to the Fourth Doctor, which Davros in those two episodes at the beginning of this season makes reference to, where the Fourth Doctor has the opportunity to stop Davros from creating the Daleks, and he's unwilling to tie a race right then and there. And he's relieved when he thinks he doesn't have to make that choice, because Davros is going to stop on his own, which Davros doesn't really do. The Daleks still get created, all this and that. But the Doctor has been faced with ethical dilemmas on several different occasions. But in this episode, I think throughout the entire 50 years of Doctor Who, the moral dilemma, the religious implications of this episode are stronger and more emphasized than any other episode, or a couple of episodes. And I mean, part of it has to do with war, and you know, do we really pay attention to the consequences of war when we start one? When that first shot is fired, have we really thought about and considered what the consequences will be? All the consequences. There will always be events that occur because of the war that we never even considered. And we will be stuck having to face those consequences at some point. And the question is, can we live with those consequences? Do we have to live with those consequences? And is there a better way to deal with our problems? And the Doctor offers there is. And the idea is we sit down and talk, and we forgive. You know, outside of religion, no one teaches forgiveness. Even then, people struggle with, how can I forgive somebody when they've done unthinkable things? So I want you to kind of think about some of these issues And I'm not going to say much more. We're going to play some of this episode. I may stop it in the middle somewhere and talk just a little bit more, but for the most part, we're just going to watch these clips and we'll be done. There we go.
We've been to cattle. We've been left to fend ourselves.
Says everyone.
It's not fair.
Oh, it's not fair. Oh, I didn't realize that. It was not fair. Ooh. Just want cruelty to beget cruelty. You're not superior to people who were cruel to you. You're just a whole bunch of new cruel people. A whole bunch of new cruel people. Being cruel to some other people will end up being cruel to you.
Okay, so I am going to interrupt and make a few statements on what's been said so far. First one is we do tend to go and we complain. Life is, for those of us who do believe in God, or a God, sometimes we think life's not fair. If there and we want to say, well, if there was a God, it would be fair, so there can't be a God. Or we don't understand why life is not fair when there is a God, if we believe in Him. If you look at every religious book, there's no promise that life will be fair, that things will always be the way we want them to be. There are no promises for that. In fact, in the Bible, we're told straight up, you're going to face problems, you're going to face hardships and trials. Things are going to be difficult at times. And you have to learn to deal with it and live with it. And part of how you live with it and learn to deal with it is what shapes you into a godly or ungodly person. And so we think things are unfair. We think we've been left to fend on our own. And in return, we end up becoming, like the doctor is saying here, another cruel person who is going to be cruel to somebody because someone was cruel to you, and you're just going to create more cruel people in the process. And you never get out of that cycle.
The only way anyone can live in peace is if they're prepared to forgive. Why don't you break the cycle?
Why should we?
So the only way to get out of this cycle of hatred and rage and anger and violence is forgiveness. And the question is, who's going to be the first one to break the cycle of violence and hatred and forgive? And can she do that?
What is it that you actually want? Oh, actually no, do you? Because, like every other tantruming child in history, Bonnie, you don't actually know what you want. So come on. Break the cycle.
Why?
Out to get you to see. I'm almost there. And we're off! Fingers on buzzers! Are you feeling lucky? Are you ready to play the game? Who's going to be quickest? Who's going to be luckiest?
This is not a game!
No, it's not a game, sweetheart, and I mean that most sincerely.
Why are you doing this?
Yes, I'd quite like to know that too. You set this up, why?
Because it's not a game, Kate. Oh. Every war ever fought right there in front of you. Because it's always the same. When you fire that first, no matter how right you feel, you have no idea who's going to die. You don't know whose children are going to scream and burn. How many hearts will be broken?
We don't know what we're doing a lot of times. And as much as people want to complain, God's set up a situation kind of like this too, where we have to make a choice. And we think it's not fair, and we don't understand why would God put us in this situation? Because God sees a bigger picture. And that, like, He's going to say in a little while that He's experienced a bigger war, a more encompassing war. There is a bigger war to be considered in our lives, in our world. And that is the war between good and evil. I mean, it encompasses, it outshines any war, any individual war this world has faced, whether it's been World War One, World War Two, the Gulf War, the War on Terrorism, the Crusades. All of those pale in comparison to the overall war. And he's faced those pains. He has to deal with the fact he created us and we turned our backs on him. We started wars. We started being these petty creatures who hate and who thrive on evil.
How many lives shattered? How much blood will spill until everybody does what they were always going to have to do from the very beginning? Sit down and talk!
After what I've done,
You're all the same, you screaming kids. You know that? Look at me. I'm unforgivable. Well, here's the unforeseeable. I forgive you. After all you've done. I forgive you.
you don't understand. You will never understand.
I don't understand. Are you kidding me? Of course I understand. I mean, to call this a war, this funny little thing? This is not a war. I fought in a bigger war than you will ever know. I did worse things than you could ever imagine. And when I close my eyes, I hear more screams than anyone could ever be able to count. And you know what you do with all that pain? Should I tell you where you put it? You hold it tight. Till it burns your hand. And you say this. No one else will ever have to live like this. No one else will ever have to feel this pain. Not on my watch.
I don't understand how you could just forgive me.
There was another box. I was going to press another button. I was going to wipe out all of my own kind. Man, woman, and child. I was so sure. I was right.
What happened?
Same thing that happened to you. I let Clara Oswald get inside my head. Trust me.
Okay, so for just a minute, let's forget any religious connotations and talk about forgiveness from a worldly point of view. Why would anyone forgive? Why would anyone be willing to say there is another way? We can live that way. Let me start the chain. And if you'll continue it, we will eventually change the world. And the doctor says it really well, because I was in that situation. Fortunately, I was stopped by somebody else. And now I'm here trying to stop you from making the same mistake I almost made. Or maybe the case would be, I did make that mistake, and I'm trying to stop you from making the mistake I did make. And of course, we know for Doctor Who, initially, first time around, he did make that mistake. He did blow up the Daleks. He did, or at least he's supposed to have done. If you go and watch the 50th anniversary episode with the War Doctor, of course, the 10th Doctor and 11th Doctor stopped the War Doctor from actually doing it, along with the conscience of the momentum, which was played by the same actress who played Rose Tyler, and took on the personification of the Bad Wolf. And, you know, and apparently, as he claims here, Clara also helps, convince him there is a better way. And so he, as in the movie, he doesn't use the momentum like he was going to do, and they create another solution that mimics in a lot of ways what would have happened if he had used the momentum, or the moment, whatever, yeah, the moment, not the momentum, but the moment. It mimics it in a lot of ways. Of course, that ties into the Zygon Invasion, and the setup for this episode with, well, both these episodes, the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion, with the setting up of two Osgoods, one Zygon, one human, both being the same and seeing no difference in each other. And that's how we ought to be. We ought to see no difference in each other. For that way, there is no racism. There is no concern. Are you this? Are you that? And as we're going to see in this next clip, having gone through this dilemma, this process of learning what the doctor has to teach, Bonnie changes how she views the world, and she replaces the original Osgood, the other Osgood, and we still don't know the nature of the Osgood we've been dealing with this whole episode, because we know the one was killed by the mistress, and we've been trying, and the doctor, everyone else has been trying to figure out if the remaining Osgood is human or Zygon. And we get a great answer here from the two Osgoods.
Now, which one are you?
I was good.
Human or Zygon?
I'll answer that question Monday. And do you know when that day will be? The day nobody cares about the answer. Gotcha. Oh, look at his face. Oh, it's almost not fair.
But I don't, how...
Think it through, Doctor. Well, it wouldn't be right, would it? To carry on using Clara's face when there's a vacancy.
Surgery.
Osgood.
But which one of you...
The doctor's face is right there.
Doesn't matter which of us is which. All that matters is that Osgood lives, and nothing's going to stop us.
You're a credit to your species, Petronella Osgood.
No, Basil. We're a credit to both of them.
Oh, and you should know. I'm a very big fan.
So we finally see she's learned her lesson, and she takes on the persona of Osgood, which Osgood here represents peace, a lack of hatred, of violence, of racism, of all these things. And so both these beings are Osgood. They are humanity. They are people. It doesn't matter what type of who the person is. It doesn't matter if they're Zygon or human. It doesn't matter if they're Muslim or Christian or we can all live in peace if we choose to forgive. We choose to move beyond the violence of the past. And whether you want to do this from a religious perspective or a non-religious perspective, the point of this story is still the same. And I think it's one, if we all are willing to listen to what the doctor has to say here, we could all change like Bonnie. And we could all be Osgood. And it won't matter if we're black or white, if we're Asian, if we're African, if we're Hispanic. We'll just be people on this planet. So that's my thoughts for this episode. Let me know what you think. I hope I haven't offended anyone by getting too religious on the first half of this. But I do think the religious tones are there. Of course, it can be dealt with from a non-religious perspective. And his message is still as powerful, still as meaningful. This has been Super Saiyan 7 Cinders. I have been bringing you another Doctor Who discussion. I hope you will like this video. Maybe you'll even feel free to share it. I think this is probably one of the most important episodes and videos I'll produce probably on this channel. And so I hope you will subscribe to my channel. And I'll be back with another episode here in the near future. Thank you for watching.